What's up? What's up, everybody? Happy Tuesday morning here in Houston, Texas. Welcome to the Real Estate Power Play, our podcast that we are hosting for all those who are looking to get involved and know real estate, get started with real estate, or that if you're a novice or you're looking to grow, you want to JV with people, learn new cool tricks and hacks of the business. This is what we're here for. And we also have Mark. Mark, man, how you been, dude?
Gabe, I'm doing well, very well. Can't complain. Finally, some beautiful weather down here, and guess we're going to be meeting up next week. You guys are coming down doing a crypto here in West Palm Beach?
Yes, we're going to West Palm Beach, so hopefully it's nice and it's hot here. It's hot and humid, so hopefully it's nice over there.
This is the week you really want to do it because it's a beautiful week, but next week, this is the time of year where things start getting a little toasty.
Yeah. Well, perfect then. And then also, guys, we have Daniel Blue. For those who don't know, he does a lot of cool stuff with self-directed IRAs, 401ks, different cool things. We're going to dive in pretty much today about just new creative ways of financing deals and just growing forward there. So, Daniel, how you been, man?
Man, I'm good. I don't want to hear about toasty, Mark. I'm out here in Las Vegas, and I think we invented the word toasty out here.
Yeah, Mark is he has pina coladas in his hands and all that type of stuff. So
he's got a nice looking tan, man. Like he just looks like he's just chilling on the beach. I love how he's like, yeah, we finally got some good weather. I'm like, bro, you live in Florida. You have good weather every day.
Every day for him. Yeah, the difference for him is like if it's cloudy or not cloudy, or there's a little bit of a mist today. Okay.
It's actually stunning, gorgeous right now. Like low humidity. I think the high is going to be like low 80s. Just great day. Great day for a bike ride along the beach this morning.
Love it.
Oh, bike ride. All right, so let's get down to some business.
So I want to say I've known Daniel for I don't know, Daniel, how long have we known each other? Since what, 2015-ish maybe?
Pre-COVID, right? Isn't it pretty
pre-COVID,
funny? Now you like can gauge your life and say things like, yeah, right. Post-COVID, pre-COVID. But yes, this pre-COVID feels like a century ago.
We got lucky in Florida. We're only locked down for about 45 days. We enjoyed our freedom.
Woohoo!
So anyways, we're glad to have you on. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Looking forward to jamming with you guys.
Yeah, so let's hop into this thing. So, Daniel, what's your main thing? Like, what do you do? Like, you've done a lot of stuff. I talked to you a little bit before, so let's talk about a little bit how you got into this whole space.
Yeah, so I own a firm that helps people access money in their IRAs, 401ks, penalty and tax free, and we've got customers in all 50 states based out of Las Vegas. And I got started in this space. If we kind of just rewind when I was 18, 19 years old, this was back in 08, 09. And I got into sales and I jumped into the real estate sales space. And in that environment, I would hear stories of people using their IRA or 401k to flip a house. Like I remember this one guy said he used his retirement account to buy a rental. And I'm thinking, how is this possible? Like I always thought retirement accounts were for stocks or for mutual funds.
Right.
So this whole concept of being able to control your retirement accounts and essentially be the captain of your own ship and have a ton of options, that was introduced to me, back in 08, 09. And from that point on, I was like, man, I want to jump into this space eventually. And over the next few years, I had a pretty decent career in the sales space. And I got out of that industry about 10 years ago. And from that point on, I've been in the self-directed retirement account space. And I'm going on about 4 years now, having my own company. And it's pretty cool being able to help people liberate their retirement accounts and pull back the curtain and help them see that the IRS will let you access your retirement account penalty and tax-free now. We're conditioned to think that we can't touch this money until we're old and retired, and we can only use this money for the stock market. And that's not true a lot of the times.
Okay, cool. So you got into this. Bring your questions. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, if you guys have questions or anything like that, that's online. We're doing live right now. Go ahead and ask questions in the chat and we'll be able to help you out. So I've done some of these before. I've used other people's finances to put to work on real estate. I've used IRA accounts. You mentioned 401k. Okay. How would we probably have a ton of listeners that have 401ks or they have some type of retirement account that are just looking at, they're probably questioning themselves going, how can I finance these things? I get those questions all the time, and I'll just go through the list, especially if they're in their late 30s, maybe early 30s, but definitely late 30s and on. They have money stashed somewhere. And I'm going, well, what have you put any of your other funds to work? Right. So how does that conversation go? Like, how do you direct people through that forest of information?
Yeah, and that's why I love the position that we're in, Gabe. We're not financial advisors, so I'm not here to pitch stocks or insurance or real estate deals. We sell solutions, and we've got to peel back the layers and understand where someone's coming from. What's point A look like, and how can we get them to point B? And usually there's a few options to get them to point B. I'll share a recent example. We had a gal that came to us that was looking for, it's like $30,000-$40,000 to finish a flip. And she was running out of financing options, and she had a 401k from an old job. And we educated her on, hey, you could take this 401k from your old job and you can move it into a solo 401k. And then from there, you can use the loan feature on a solo 401k, take money out penalty and tax free, finish your flip. And then as long as you pay back your solo 401k within 5 years, there's no taxable event on the money that you take out of your solo 401k. And then there's an interest rate on the solo 401k. At the time that she did the solo 401k loan, it was like a 5% interest rate because it's prime +2, but she got the interest rate. It went back to her retirement account, and now she had the money in hand to finish this flip that she was able to turn around, sell for a profit, and then pay back her retirement account. And all of this involves, no credit check, no income verification. She can get the money in a relatively quick period of time, and she's her own bank. And the reason I love a solo 401k a lot of the time over a self-directed IRA is the self-directed IRA does not have a loan feature. The solo 401k does. So this example that I'm just giving, she wouldn't have been able to do this with a self-directed IRA the way the numbers shook out, but a solo 401k she could.
I like that. So let's dig into that, because that's something that I've actually don't know a lot about. I know about SDIRAs, but this solo 401k, how is it set up? Who's setting it up? Who's already had it? That they have a 401k now that's existing, and you're moving it over to a new entity or a new custodial environment, or how's that working?
Yeah, so same concept behind the scenes, whether it's a self-directed IRA or a self-directed solo 401k, there's got to be a custodian behind the scenes initially setting up the plan. So that's the same. What's different is a self-directed IRA versus a solo 401k. A couple things. One is the loan feature. That's the big game changer. There's a loan feature with the solo 401k. There isn't with a self-directed IRA. And then keep in mind, you can convert as much money from an IRA that you've got with Fidelity or a 401k you've got with your old job. You can convert as much money as you want into an IRA or a solo 401k if you qualify for it. And I'll get into the qualifications here momentarily. So keep in mind, there's no ceiling in terms of how much you can convert over. There is a ceiling when it comes to contribution limits, like putting in cash money, new money into an IRA or a solo 401k. And that's where another difference lies between an IRA and a solo 401k. An IRA, you can only put in between $6,000, maybe $7,000 a year, new money into an IRA. A solo 401k, depending on how much your business brings in, you can actually contribute right around $60,000 per year.
Wow.
So you can stuff a ton of money into this plan. And then to qualify, you do have to have some kind of entrepreneurial activity going on, right? Maybe you get 1099 commission, as a realtor, and you've got an LLC set up. Maybe you've got an online business. Maybe you're a freelancer, consultant. You've got some kind of business activity going on in the background. You can still be a W-2 employee somewhere else, but behind the scenes or in the front, you've got some business activity going on. And as long as there aren't any W-2 employees beyond you or your spouse, then you most likely qualify for a solo 401k.
That's awesome. I have a question there. So, and essentially they're setting up their own LLC and they're just doing a solo 401k, but they have to conduct business. That's kind of what you were just saying a moment ago. Is that correct? If I'm understanding that correctly?
So the solo 401k has got to be tied to some kind of EIN number, right? So maybe an LLC, maybe an S corp, some kind of entity that the solo 401k is tied to.
Nice. I like it. And what are some of the investments if I have let's back up. So I have this self 401k, so I can lend to myself versus like my regular IRA. I can't lend to myself, but I can lend to somebody else. Is that correctly? You want to
So let's geek out, and hopefully we don't bore people to death and put people to sleep. But there are what are called prohibited transactions, right? Like for example, a self-directed IRA, even a solo 401k cannot own a property and then you live in it. You can't use your retirement account to own a property and then you got a ladder and you're on the roof fixing the tile. Like you have to hire a third party to do this. You can't rent out your property that's owned by your retirement account to your sister, but you can rent it out to your cousin. I know that sounds silly, but just we can thank the good old IRS, right? So there's these prohibited transactions that apply to when a self-directed IRA or a self-directed solo 401k are investing. So keep that in mind. But again, this is why I love the loan feature with the solo 401k. If you're using the loan feature to take money out of the solo 401k, now you've got the money yanked out of the retirement account, penalty and tax free, and you can use that money however you want. There's no restriction because your solo 401k doesn't own that asset. So if you want to use that money to start a business that you 100% own and manage, you could do that. A lot of our customers will use the money to maybe fund their online business. Maybe they need some inventory for their Amazon store, or maybe they have some high interest rate credit card debt that they've got to pay down to bring down their utilization rate, get their credit score up so they can get this sweet loan for, a VRBO, right? So like it's a Swiss Army knife. You can use the loan feature however you want, and you're not having to play under the ball game of, or the rules of the whole prohibited transactions.
All right, let's go into this loan feature that you're talking about. All right, so like you said, let's geek out a little bit. What exactly can you help? Like whenever you're bringing in or an investor comes by and they want to know how all this works, right? What are some of the steps that you guide them through with this loan feature? How to utilize it, how to make it the best use?
Yeah, so basically it comes down to math, right? Our ideal customer is going to have at least $30,000 in a 401k from an old job or an IRA that they can move over into ideally a solo 401k because it has a lot more features and benefits over a self-directed IRA. Another difference is the solo 401k is exempt from UBIT. And for some of you real estate investors that are a little bit more savvier, you guys understand that UBIT is that extra tax, so to speak, and that is applicable with the self-directed IRA, but a solo 401k, it's not. So going back to your question, Gabe, it comes down to math because you can take a loan of 50% of the account value or $50,000, whichever number is less. You can take that money out penalty and tax free and use it however you want, right? So if you've got 50K in a 401k from your old job and you're like, holy cow, I qualify for this solo 401k, then you should be able to get your hands on about 25,000 of that money, penalty and tax free. If you've got 100,000, you can get your hands on 50,000. If you've got 200,000, the max is still $50,000.
Interesting. I like it. Now you can take your self IRA and then roll it over into a solo 401k. Is that allowed?
Yeah, if you qualify for the solo 401k, yeah.
Well, let's jump into some of the qualifications.
Yeah, so you just have to have that entrepreneurial activity going on, right? There's got to be some kind of business activity in the picture. You get 1099 income, you got an online business, you have some business owner activity going on, and there's no W-2 employees that you employ beyond you or your spouse.
Got it. Okay. That totally makes sense. Now, what are some of the investments that you can take out? I know we're talking about real estate, but I also have been seeing and reading that some people are using it for crypto investments. You can also take some capital out to invest into another business. Why don't you kind of go over a few of the items?
Yeah. So what I'm seeing in the industry is, I'm seeing a lot of the custodians that we work with, and I'm not a custodian. We don't actually hold the funds. We do the education, the customer service, all that kind of fun stuff. But the custodians that we're working with and other custodians I'm seeing in the industry, I'm seeing a lot more of them actually accept or allow is the right word I'm looking for, crypto investments to be held in their accounts. And I'm seeing a lot more of the kind of popular coins, Ethereum, Bitcoin, right? Like some of the custodians we work with, our customers can actually purchase crypto, like Bitcoin or Ethereum using their retirement account, right? So when they go into their portal for their solo 401k, they can see I own 2 Bitcoin in my solo 401k and I did it without creating a taxable event. Okay, cool. I've got some people that are like, man, I want to put money in this crypto investment that, barely anyone knows about. And, it's this random, coin that just got established. If you want to get crazy like that and invest into kind of some wild investments that still are not prohibited transactions, I see a lot of people get checkbook control accounts. And some of your more savvier investors, savvier real estate people might already be aware of a checkbook control. Basically, a checkbook control can be an IRA, or a checkbook control can be a solo 401k. It's just a feature on the plan that allows you to have the money essentially in your business bank account where you're bypassing the custodian. And now you can just wire the money. You can write a check out for that specific investment, but it's still tied to your retirement account. So you've got to make sure that you're still playing by the rules with the whole prohibited transactions and all that kind of fun stuff. So to answer your question, Mark, I'm seeing a lot of people do like promissory notes, maybe they're being like a private lender. They're lending money to Gabe to, do a development deal. And, they're making maybe 10, 15% a year, whatever that is. And obviously I'm just using Gabe as an example. But I'm seeing a lot of that. I'm seeing a lot of private equity where they're investing into like an LLC, getting some shares, obviously crypto, flipping a property. But I'm seeing a ton of passive investments. A lot of people, especially right now with the stock market the way it is, a lot of people are cool making 10, 12% a year, and it's fixed, doesn't go up, doesn't go down, and they're lending money like a CD. But then, and again, I'm not here to endorse any product. We all know there's cons. Con to lending money is now you don't have that much liquidity, right? And, all deals can go south, you can lose money and yada, yada, yada. But it's just nice to have more options.
Nice. Yeah. We used it. I just used it recently on a property up in Jacksonville where one of my friends had money in their IRA. We went through a custodian. We'll talk what some people may not know what a custodian is. So I'm going to ask you that question in a minute, but we went through Quest, and he put his money out there and he actually did really well. He put up 50,000, and then on this one, we did an arrangement. He ended up getting 60,000 back in like within 2 months. So it was a great investment on him for that one. So why don't you explain a little bit, for new people that don't understand how the process works, what is a custodian, and kind of go through that process if you don't mind.
Yeah. So if you Google self-directed custodian, you're going to see a bunch of custodians pop up. And basically these are companies that just have certain licenses that can administer alternative assets, right? If you've got money with Fidelity, with Vanguard, with Edward Jones, and you call your financial advisor, you call the 800 number and you're like, hey, I've got this sweet real estate deal. I want to lend money to my buddy. And can I make this happen? They're going to be like, I don't know what you're talking about, but here's this REIT that you can invest in, or here's this stock that is real estate based that builds homes. And then you're like, well, no, that's not what I want. I want to invest money with my buddy on this real estate deal. And they're going to be like, yeah, we can't help you. That's just because Wall Street firms like that can really only administer traditional investments, stocks, ETFs, index funds, things of that nature. Where a self-directed custodian comes into play, they just have the licenses and they choose to administer alternative assets, like lending money to Mark to do a deal in Jacksonville. Notice how I use the word choose. They choose to do that. Wall Street chooses not to do that. Why? Well, it's math, right? They're managing trillions of dollars and they're making 1 to 2% a year on the money. They don't make money when Bob lends money to Mark on a deal for real estate, right? Like, they make money assets under management. That's their business model. So that's why most people haven't heard of self-directed retirement accounts and solo 401ks, not because it's brand new and it just came about and it's just this new secret under the radar plan. It's been around for decades. Self-directed accounts have been around a long time. It's just not brought to the forefront because, one, Wall Street doesn't want people to know about this. Two, most of Wall Street just educates their advisors and their staff on traditional products. So a lot of it is monetary purposes, but a lot of it is a ton of CPAs don't even know about this. I had a customer the other day reach out to our team and they're like, hey, my CPA is freaking out right now. He doesn't know what a solo 401k is. He thinks it's not legitimate.
Right.
I'm like, bro, there's called Google. Like, tell him to Google solo 401k. Like, Fidelity has solo 401ks. Like, it's a plan approved by the IRS. So, a lot of people, don't.
And I find that a lot though, man. Like, Daniel, I see that, and then the more that I've gotten into doing real estate investing and other type of investings, now we're doing crypto, commercial. I mean, we're doing all types of stuff. And I start seeing that there's just so much information out there for any person to know, like to be a top expert in putting people's money to work or CPA. I mean, you have to know, it's just getting wider and wider as far as a range of information you need to know, right, to help your clients out. So I totally get it. So when those opportunities do happen, you know what I do, guys? And for those who are listening, by the way, if you're on YouTube, like us. If you like what you have more questions for Daniel and for us, for anything else you want to talk about, let us know. We'll be happy to help you out and help you move forward. But one of the things that I do is just consider it an opportunity for building more relationships. Like, I'm a big relationship component or proponent guy. If you find someone who doesn't quite know everything and they are been in the business for 15 years, this is a good opportunity to go, you know what, let's go grab a coffee. Let's go talk about different strategies that we can use and we compare some things together, or let's get on a Zoom call real quick. And then you're building relationships with someone and you're just bridging gaps instead of just having divider lines. I think that's one of the things that's happening in our marketplace, is that there's so many divider lines now that people are like either yay or nay, staunch about what they're doing. Now, we're just really not working together as a team, and we're not JV and partnering as much as we could be, right? And that you can be building these great relationships with other investors, other custodians, other CPA, just all this different stuff. The money's right there if you just broaden your horizon, right? So that's my own little tip on there. You have a book, right, that you have put out. Why did you put the book out? Like, what was the thing that you're like, did you always want to write a book, or were you just kind of like, I just need to get this information to people?
It's a good question. Really two parts to that answer. One, I'll just be vulnerable with everybody here. I don't like social media. I'm not even a big fan of being on camera. Like, if I could live my perfect life, I would be like on the beach, no social media, and just chilling.
This sounds like Mark, by the way.
I don't like it, but I also don't like to lose. And I am an entrepreneur. Right. I'm blessed to have a team that counts on me. I've got employees, I've got customers that count on me, and it's my duty to grow. And I can't grow unless I get uncomfortable, and I can't grow unless I can get my information in front of more people. So there's a mastermind that I've been a part of for a few years now that has really helped me grow in terms of being on social media a lot more, speaking on stages, having my own podcast, saying yes to being on more podcasts, writing a book. All of that comes down to just branding. So I've been more cognizant of building my brand over the years. And I know what we do is pretty cool. I hear from my team, I hear from real life people where they're like, man, where were you 5 years ago? Why didn't my financial advisor teach me this? How come no one's ever taught me this before? And we love to serve people that are busy. And what I mean by that is we love to serve people that are 40, 50, 60 years old, that are busy with their kids, busy with their lives. they don't have the time, nor do they want to spend 10 hours on YouTube and try to figure this out. So we've been able to develop a method where we can teach people, lay out the options, educate them in a way where they can absorb the information, understand their options, and then it makes sense or it doesn't make sense at that time. So we've been able to do that over the phone over the years. We've got a pretty unique system in that regard. But I'm thinking, man, if I can write a book that people can understand, because I've read a lot of financial books and a lot of people listening to this probably have as well, where there's a lot of these books that are, number one, like huge, like they're massive, 400 pages, like a Ray Dalio book. Ray Dalio is the shit. I love him, but his books are long, man. And then they're really complicated, right? So I'm thinking, okay, I'm writing this book again for the common American, the average American that wants to create more wealth. So I wrote this book speaking to that person to try to just use more analogies, connect the dots for them easier, where they can read that book in a short period of time, take action and get results. And I know a book is a way that can get in front of more people, whether they choose to buy my book on audio, they can listen to it when they're walking their dog, they can get a physical copy, Kindle. So, that was the kind of the motivation and what was, in my head, behind that.
Man, you mentioned about this, the fact of taking action. And this is pretty much what we're about. Like, that's why we call it Power Play. There's not, we have Ronnie's from Michigan, Marty's just killing it in upstate New York. Mark's here, me. I mean, this is what we do, and we do it in all different areas. And we just got together by asking ourselves, like, how can we help other people to take more action and to just be more proactive? I think it's one of the things that we run into right now. It's just easy to get bogged down with technology. It's bogged down with information overload. Where do I start type of stuff? So you applying that to your space is amazing to help others take action. What is by the way, to do a plug, what is how do we get a hold of you? Like, what if, for those who's on here, what's one of the...
Yeah, best way would be just going to my personal website is danielblue.me. It's Daniel Blue, just like the color, .me.
Okay.
And on my website, you can get a bunch of free content, a bunch of articles that I wrote in the self-directed space. You can get a copy of my book. You can have access to my podcast. I've got a podcast called How Winners Win. The mission behind that is to help people win in their financial life, their business, their personal life. Got a lot of fun doing that podcast. And then if you're somebody, and of course, my social media handles are on there as well. And I try to add value on social media. And then if you're somebody that's thinking like, holy cow, I didn't know, I've got this retirement account and I'm not really happy with it. And I'd love the ability to control it and access it penalty and tax free. If you're kind of thinking along those lines, there's some places on my website that you can, gather more information on how to take action there.
One thing I want to point out to, real estate investors that are listening to us right now is, when you're talking to like friends out there and you're saying, ask them what you do, and you say you're a real estate investor, whenever they use the word that, oh, I would love to get into real estate investing, however, I don't have the time and energy, that is a key right there. That's where you want to reach out to like Daniel, because they could actually put their capital to work and you guys can actually do deals together and they can actually tap into their IRAs. So keep that in mind when you're talking to people as you're a real estate investor, because you're always out there looking for capital. You may have friends and family that you may know, or even I was just recently at a reunion not too long ago, and somebody said, oh, the same thing. Oh, I love to get in real estate. I just don't have, he's actually a physician. He said, I don't have the time and energy. I'm like, okay, you have an IRA or 401k, let's talk. And and we actually are in the process of putting that deal together where he's going to start putting some capital into some of our land development deals as being one of the passive investors. So keep that in mind.
So basically what Mark is saying, guys, is ABC, always be closing. Even at a family reunion.
Reunion. Man, okay, so here I got a question for you, because you're mentioning right up our line of how winners win, and you're talking about application. And one of the things that I tell my group of people is just, knowledge without application is just a bunch of frustration. You're just going to be one frustrated person because you don't know what to apply, and you're probably going to be scatterbrained all over the place. And the more that happens, from my perspective, not just the more frustrated you are, but you're just really not being accountable to yourself. You're not being disciplined in your business. Your business probably isn't growing to that next level. You're really not doing some of the methods that needs to happen on a daily basis and for you to grow your business. So now that you mentioned it, and I love the topic, what is one of the things that you're seeing in your space that people procrastinate the most on unknowingly, like in your space, to going, man, if these people would just see this and really put it into action, they can really build some wealth for them?
Content.
Yeah.
Yes. And the reason why we don't put out more content is because we're afraid what other people are going to think about us. We think we
Right.
look stupid on camera. We think we have a message nobody wants to hear about. We put a post out on social media and we get 10 likes, and 2 of them are from your mom and your dad, right? So then we just stop doing that. And we forget there's people that watch us and listen to us all the time. They might not like your post, they might not comment, but they're going to say something, right? Maybe not then, but they're going to say something at some point in time. And ultimately, and I've heard this from one of my mentors, and it really resonated with me. He's just like, dude, probably half the people are not going to like you, no matter what. Like, you could, no matter what you say or don't say, like, they're just automatically not going to like you. And then it's up to the other 50%. It's up to you just to be who you are and be real and be authentic with your message, and you'll attract the other 50%. But who cares what other people think? And I'm speaking to myself more than anything here, because that's gotten in the way of me doing more content, me doing more videos, me doing more articles. So it's just that imposter syndrome that we all have, and content is massive, right? That's how people can know, like, and trust you.
Good, Mark. You had something?
No, I was just going to piggyback off of Daniel, what he was just saying. I was actually the same thing. Somebody that I know that follows, I'm friends with on Facebook, never even thought they were even interested in some of the content that we're putting out there. And they said, oh, I've watched some of your videos and I've learned quite a bit. I'm like, whoa. So people that you don't even think that is following you, that's interested, they actually are intrigued and they actually want to start learning more. So what Daniel's saying is 100% dead on. And Gabe, you know that as well.
Yeah, totally. And I think that really what you're doing is putting you out there into the space that you're in. So Daniel does some really cool stuff with financing. He's helping people get their finances together, use it for investments. I do now all types of stuff with real estate. Mark does a whole bunch of different stuff with real estate. So we're just putting ourselves out there and seeing what we could do to help other people. By that, we're able to JV with other people. I actually have a friend of mine from last week. We've done plenty of deals together. He's actually doing some work for me right now. And it looks like we're going to be JVing together on another big project, just by me going out there and building relationships and connecting with people. So it's so important, it's so powerful. What are the things that you're seeing? Let's talk about some of the wins here in your space of what you do, Daniel, and helping other people out. What are some of the wins that you're seeing people use your systems and processes, as far as using, the financing of real estate, financing of crypto, whatever it might be? What are you seeing some stuff happen that's just like really pretty energizing?
Tell you one that I'll always remember the rest of my life. There was a lady that wanted to start a school. Like, that was just a dream of hers. And during COVID, she looked at as an opportunity to start her own school, because prior to COVID, she never started her own school. She was busy with her family and her kids and working, and that was a dream of hers, but she just never took action. And COVID presented a very unique opportunity, right? We know our whole school system was just shattered. So she's like, now is my time to start a school. Well, she needed some money to make this happen. And she opened up a solo 401k with us, used the loan feature, took some of that money out, funded her school. It was online at the time. Like, this was in the depths of COVID. And she crushed it. Like, she was able to make it work during COVID with her online school. Fast forward today, she still has her school. And, last time I talked to my rep that works with her, the school is now seeing kids in person. Like, she sees kids in person. So stuff like that is surreal, right? Helping somebody make something like that happen, a dream of theirs, using a tool that we were able to provide. Now, she might have been able to do it without us, right? We can't take all the credit, but just knowing that we can take maybe just a small piece of that and see her make that kind of impact, that kind of win, that fills the soul up right there.
That's cool. I want to jump back just a second and talking about using the the loan features and whatnot. Do they have to be? Can you actually do a personal loan, or like does it have to be tied to a real estate? Does it have to be tied to a business? Like, if I'm going to lend my money out to somebody through my solo 401k, which I do have, can I lend that out to somebody else and just as a note holder? Like, but does it have to has to be secured against real estate?
Yeah. So let's go through that scenario together. Like, let's just say you've got 100,000 in your solo 401k, and let's just say you find this deal where you can lend $50,000 on a real estate project. Whether that deal is secured or not, that's between you and the borrower, right? Whether it's secured by, first lien, personal guarantee, that's between you and the lender, right? But you can now fill out the paperwork with your solo 401k, fill out the direction of investment, fill out the promissory note, and then now your solo 401k owns that investment, right? $50,000 is invested in your solo 401k into this deal. And then whenever this deal pays off, any interest or the principal, it just flows back into the solo 401k. So if you take 50 and you turn it into 70,000, there's zero taxable event that happens because it left the retirement account and came back in the retirement account, right? On another side of things, you could use the loan feature for something like that or for something else, right? And I'll give you an example. Maybe you knew that you could take 50,000 and turn it into 70,000, but you wanted this done outside the retirement account because you wanted to get your hands on this money without going through the IRS situation, right? So you take 50,000 as a loan, you give it to your buddy, cash. Your retirement account doesn't own the property. You're just on the hook to pay back the 50K plus the interest within 5 years to avoid the taxable event. But then when your buddy gives you back 70,000, you can pay back your loan, but now that $20,000, yes, it's a taxable event because it happened outside the retirement account, but now that cash is yours. It's not in a retirement account, so you're not having to deal with the IRS. So there's some pros and cons obviously there, but it's just nice to have that loan feature. And again, doesn't have to be tied to a property. That loan feature, all it is just tied to the value of your retirement account. 50% of the account value or $50,000, whichever number is less.
I like that. I like it. Or instead of taking out 25,000, you could have put it back into the IRA and not be taxed. Is that correct?
As a contribution, you could do that. One thing I would really look at if I were, someone listening to this podcast that has never heard about a solo 401k, but likes the idea of a Roth contribution. And we can geek out here for a second, but basically most people have deferred retirement accounts pre-tax where the money they put in, they get a tax break immediately, year one, but then they're kicking the can down the road. The money grows tax-free, but eventually when they yank the money out, they're going to pay taxes on those gains. That's how most of IRA and 401k money are set up currently. Roth is the opposite. If you put money into a Roth IRA or a Roth solo 401k, you don't get a tax benefit year one, right? You're going to claim that money as income. However, that money grows tax-free. And one thing about a Roth IRA, you actually can make too much money to contribute to a Roth IRA. Like, for example, if you're a single dude, single woman, you don't file a joint and you make 200 grand a year, IRS is like, you make too much money. You can't do a Roth IRA. Now you could get creative and do a backdoor Roth and you can Google that and there's definitely some legitimate ways to make that happen. But why I love the solo 401k is there's no restrictions. You could be single, making $200,000 a year, and you can contribute into a Roth solo 401k. And I'll give you an example. Imagine putting in $50,000 into a Roth solo 401k, a contribution, not a rollover, not a conversion, just cash money contribution, $50,000. You'll pay taxes on that $50,000. You'll claim it as income. But if that $50,000 were to grow to $200,000 over a period of time, you pay taxes on the seed, but you're not paying taxes on the harvest. So now that money, that $200,000 is 100% tax-free. And I don't know about you guys, but I think you'd probably agree with me. Taxes are probably not going down, right? Especially with the government printing all this money, might not be a bad idea to lock in some of your tax rates now and get some of that tax-free money down the road.
Yeah, that's great stuff. That was a lot of great nuggets for there. So speaking of the government with the IRAs, what was the whole big thing like, within the last 4 to 6 months that they were trying to put all these rules? Like some billionaire was using his IRA of what was that all about?
We had people freaking out, man. We had people DMing me, calling me, like it was pretty interesting. I think we go back even further. You guys Google Mitt Romney. self-directed IRA, reportedly, allegedly, maybe, apparently he's got like 100 million in a self-directed IRA. He did some kind of private equity play and just crushed it. Right. So this has been going on a long time. Rich people getting richer. And then the person you're referencing is I might pronounce his name incorrectly, Peter Thiel. You know, he was one of the founders of PayPal, or, you know, affiliated with PayPal in the early stages. And apparently he's got a self-directed Roth IRA with just millions and billions of millions of dollars. I don't know if it's B, but I know it's millions.
I think it is in a B. I think it might be a B in the B.
It might be. So
yeah.
They're just saying that the government's like, man, we can't allow this to happen. And I was reading the bill and I was like, there's no way it's going to pass. It didn't pass. That's not to say it can't, but basically how I was interpreting it is it was saying like, you can't use a self-directed retirement account to buy alternative assets. Long story short, they were making it harder for people that aren't accredited to play in this game. And that is a part that makes me a little skeptical, because I've always thought it was like, man, and that's how the rich get richer, right? If you're not accredited, you can't do some of these investments. Now they should know their risk, and you know, let's protect the consumer. I'm all about that, but I'm also all about free choice and being able to do what I want with my money. So, you know, there is some concern there, but I don't know, man. I think there's just too much money in the self-directed space. I got to believe there's a lot of people in Congress that have self-directed retirement accounts. These guys are playing the game. Congress, they pass the laws. I find it very hard to believe that they would allow something like that to pass, which it didn't pass. And again, I can't tell the future. I don't know if it will pass or not. I'm not a fortune teller. There's other people that are smarter than me that might have a different opinion, but I'm just resting on the fact that I believe that a lot of people in Congress have self-directed plans. So They're looking out for their best interest.
Yeah, Wall Street was pushing it pretty hard because they want to control all the finance. They don't want you to do it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so that was good stuff. So, we're getting towards the end here of kind of wrapping things up. But I think this was great stuff. Anything else that you think that we didn't ask you that you think would be good, informative, or anything to that nature in this topic?
No, I think we covered a ton without putting people to sleep.
Again, so how would the listeners that are listening on a podcast, how would they reach out to you and find you again?
Yeah, DanielBlue.me. So it's Daniel Blue, just like the color.me.
Awesome.
Boom.
I love it. Gabe, take over.
All right, guys. Hey, thank you so much for chiming in and just listening to just the cool stuff that Daniel's doing. We love talking about just ways to help people grow their business. Especially, I love the whole thing of like, what was it? What is it? Winner? What is it? How winners win. I love that. So just really helping people out. So if you guys ever want to follow someone, follow Daniel. He just really has a heart for helping people grow their personal financing and just the whole business acumen and their mindset. So guys, thanks a lot for tripping on. If you want to know more information about anything that has to do with real estate investing or investing in general, that has to do with you need to put your money to work or whatever you need to do with more investments, buying a rental house, whatever. We're not financial advisors. We're not attorneys. We're not CPAs, but we could just give our opinion of just some of the experience that we've had. So see you guys. Love you. And I'll talk to you later. Peace.